congratulations to you and to John and to everybody on a very big victory. We're opening up our country. Should have never been closed. Should have never been closed.
So Donald Trump just announced that they're opening up the country again, and the crypto market is absolutely dumping. So if you hold XRP and you didn't see the video that I made 2 days ago, listen to this. I just got off a 3-hour call with our community here, breaking down, what's happening with XRP and how to spot these divergences and how to position yourself properly so you can be able to make the most amount of money possible, longing and shorting any altcoin you want. So you're not just buying into hype or FOMO or selling into FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So looking at the 4-hour chart here, we can see that the stochastic RSI, formed a bearish cross right up here. So it's not the best entry point for XRP on a buy because we could pull back in the short term back to the 50 EMA on the 4-hour chart here while the stochastic RSI comes down and reset. So this is not exactly what I like to look for to buy. Plus the RSI is sitting at 67 right now. If the RSI pushes upwards of 70 to 80 to 90, yes, XRP could rally in the short term, but the risk to the downside right now is actually a little bit higher for XRP based on where you could be entering prior to the breakout down here. And so if we go into the hourly chart, you can even see that the RSI topped out here upwards of 82. The price chart made a higher high right here, whereas the relative strength index made a lower high, is now in a downtrend. So unless XRP, even if XRP makes another higher high here on the price chart, in my opinion, this momentum would eventually slow down, roll over, and we'd see a bigger correction for XRP before either continuing the uptrend or going down. So right now, the risk is a lot higher to be buying into XRP. I would be looking for short opportunities as this bearish divergence starts to play out a little bit more, or literally after I jump off this video, XRP starts to break down. So this is a likely scenario. I would watch it here in the short term. Either we have, another little high and we start to roll over here, but eventually I do expect XRP to experience a sell-off on the 4-hour time frame just simply because the stochastic RSI is all the way up here. Okay, this is what I would look for XRP, is the stochastic RSI to reset down here below 20, closer to 0, the relative strength index to come down closer to 50 or even 30, and XRP's price to do something like this. So yes, there could be another short-term push up in the short term to form another high to come into this zone of resistance, but eventually I'd expect XRP to experience a bigger sell-off and then a bounce from, somewhere closer to $2.40. This is what I would look for. Now, if this doesn't happen, well, I'm going to come back on video. I'm going to show you XRP's price chart. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. But if you want to learn how to properly long and short XRP, so that way you can take your 100K funded account from Breakout using a link in the description below and pass the test by only paying $1,000 to get the 100K, then I highly encourage you to check out the video I made for you in the description below at altcoinpro.com. Watch it. It's only 13 minutes long. It explains how you can get access to our technical analysis essentials training course right here, where we have over 28 videos explaining you how to use, line charts, candlesticks, different drawing tools, indicators, and how to basically master trading. So that way you can separate yourself from the 99% and join the 1%. And if we look at XRP on the 4-hour chart, that's exactly what happened. XRP pulled back and now it's dropping even below the 50 EMA. And so when you understand how to trade, you guys can spot stuff like this and not get absolutely wrecked buying into the rallies like a lot of new investors do. And so if we look at XRP's chart right now and what's happening, well, we got that bearish cross up here on the stochastic RSI on the 4-hour chart. The stochastic has come all the way back down here, experienced its first bullish cross below 20. And now we're at 11 and 10. The relative strength index is at 43. If we go into the hourly chart, price isn't looking so hot because we broke below this ascending support. We also experienced another bearish cross up here at 100 on the stochastic RSI and the hourly. And now the K line and the D line are at 54 and 22. In a downtrend. I would watch and wait for the stochastic to come down here on the hourly chart. The relative strength index is at 31 right now. And so if we want to be looking for a bullish divergence for a reversal, what we would want to look for is the lowest low on the relative strength index. And you can do this on any time frame. Right now we're on the hourly, but the lowest low right here is at 28. And I just take a vertical line and I match that up with the price chart. And you can see we're putting in a lower low right now for XRP. And the relative strength index is at 31. So if we see a bounce from this level right here back to the upside, then this would technically be a bullish divergence. What I like to look for is I like to look for the relative strength index to dip first and foremost below 30. And then on the recovery on the price chart, we then drop lower for a lower low. Then the relative strength index puts in a higher low between 30 and 50. to show that the bearish momentum is slowing down, and eventually we would experience a bigger bounce to the upside at some point. So this bearish divergence could play out for a period of time. I would give it some more patience here. Even if we see a short-term bounce, just wait for the weakening momentum to the downside and for these lower lows not to be so drastic. Similar to what happened all the way back here. You have a little bit of time when we start getting out of here, because if you look at the stochastic RSI, the first thing that you want to wait for is the K line, the D line to reset all the way back down here closer to 0. We're at 54 and 22, so we're not quite there yet. You want to wait for this to happen right here and what I'm circling. And then you want to see the relative strength index forming higher lows. And also it helps if the stochastic RSI is forming higher lows too, while the price chart starts to roll back over and show some sign of support before eventually breaking back to the upside. So what that would look like if we experience a short-term rally would eventually be the price starting to form some sign of support and forming higher lows on the price, similar to this right here. And then eventually we start a breakout on the other side. So you can afford to wait here because there's different accumulation points. You can accumulate the breakout and the back test, similar to what happened all the way back here. You see a breakout and a back test to where you're catching the upside move rather than trying to buy in the downtrend, not knowing where this is going to bottom out, because we could easily just continue down from here and come all the way back down to these lows at like $2.17. And so you don't know how low we go in a downtrend. You also don't know how high we go in an uptrend. That's why when I give these examples here and I talk about different scenarios that could take place, it's all about the risk to reward ratio and the probability. So when I was talking about XRP could potentially make another higher high up and then roll over and eventually come down. Well, sure enough, we saw this play out literally right after I jumped off the video. So even if XRP rallied up here, the risk was too high to buy because the reward is just not there. The risk to reward is higher when you're accumulating down here. So for example, once the stochastic RSI resets down here closer to 0, and we see what the relative strength index does if it starts to put in higher lows. This is just a big if here. Then we see what the price action looks like on the chart if it's starting to form higher lows as well for a recovery for XRP back to the upside. So I think there's a little more selling pressure to the downside to look for. And if we look at Total 2's price chart, we can see that Total 2 rebounded off of $1.24 trillion and rallied all the way up into resistance that was once support back here since the 11th of October. You can see 1 point of contact, 2, 3, 4 points of contact. Then we broke below it on the 3rd of November. And because we rallied right back into it as resistance and it's getting rejected from it, this is not bullish right now. We need to clear this resistance and hold it as support. Also, the stochastic RSI on the daily is at 77 and 75. So that can mean more selling pressure to the downside while we remain in this downtrend for Total 2, because if we just connect the highs to this recent high right here, this is a strong point of confluence here. And confluence is when you see multiple things lining up at the same time. For example, this descending resistance right here, the price got rejected from it. Also, this horizontal resistance that was once support, it got rejected as well. Plus, we're all the way up here at 76 and 75 on the stochastic RSI. And the relative strength index is in a downtrend here below 50. So by no means is this bullish right now. So I just be patient here and watch XRP to the downside. Again, you don't want to be accumulating right here. You want to wait for some sign of strength on the other side. If the RSI starts bottoming out between 30 and 50 here. Remember, if we keep going down here and the RSI puts in a lowest low right here between 18, 19, 20, then we could just keep bleeding out lower, and then the bearish divergence starts to form on the recovery here while the price chart makes lower lows. So what this tells me right now is that the momentum for XRP is just going to continue going down. Even if we see these short-term temporary bounces, we would just be met by a lower high here in this downtrend until we see a trend reversal. Now, I know this is not what you want to hear, but I'm not here to hype you up and pump you up and say that we're going to the moon if I don't believe that we are, because you can make money shorting the market if we're going to continue going down. Now, price is down, funding is up, open interest is up. And if we look right here on the Binance Bitcoin to USDT liquidation heat map, there's more leverage right here to the downside around $99,000 than there is to the upside. So Bitcoin is not out of this downtrend just yet. We're just getting rejected from a lower high right here, and we're putting in another lower low. So this is really a falling wedge. So how I expect this to play out is, regardless of whatever happens in the short term for Bitcoin, like if we experience another short-term bounce, is we just coil up in this wedge until we see some type of strength here and some breakout and holding of a higher low for Bitcoin. We've seen this happen so many times in the past where Bitcoin's in a downtrend. I'll just give you one example back from January this year. We see lower highs get put in, we see lower lows lows get put in, the price coils up in this wedge, and then we see it break a descending resistance and start to put in higher lows, then a higher high than the previous high in the downtrend. And then we start to build on top of a key resistance in the downtrend to show some sign of strength up here after a bullish divergence is played out. For example, look at the relative strength index here on the daily chart for Bitcoin. I'm giving you guys the game here for free. So pay close attention here. And if you get value out of this, I know you're going to love even more of what you learn inside of Altcoin Pro, because this is nothing compared to what our team teaches. But look at the RSI. It's 24 right here on the 26th of February. Look at what happened to the RSI by the 8th of April. It put in a higher low between 50 and 30 right here, showing that the bearish momentum was slowing down drastically, and eventually there was going to be a trend reversal. So if we just circle the lows on the price chart here, you can clearly see that these are lower lows, but yet the relative strength index was putting in a higher low. So by the time I see the relative strength index between 30 and 50 holding support, I wait for price confirmation of a breakout. I wait for price action like this. So what's happening right now for Bitcoin is we haven't seen Bitcoin bottom out below 30. The lowest low on the RSI right here is at 31 on the daily chart, and this is the low on the price chart. So that tells me Bitcoin could potentially put in another lower low. And if the bottom is in on the RSI, we would need to then put in a higher low right here between 30 and 50. So we don't always have to come down below 30, but it helps to determine the strength of the bullish reversal after a bullish divergence is done playing out. So nonetheless, I just expect Bitcoin to experience, selling pressure further down until we see some sign of strength, until we see it start to break structure and hold on top of a key resistance. This is the main resistance that I'm watching here, roughly around $106,000 to $107,000. Until Bitcoin can show some sign of strength above that, similar to what happened all the way back here, showing a sign of strength on top of a resistance in this downtrend. That's what's happening right now. This is the resistance in the downtrend that I'm watching. Unless Bitcoin does something like this and holds on top of this, then I'm still going to be bearish, because we're just in a downtrend. These are the facts right here, and you have to look at the facts objectively, feel indifferent, have stoic logic here, and just learn how to make money on the way down, shorting the market into these retracement rallies right here, like I showed you for XRP, which is how we catch these trades like this one right here, which was a short on XRP for $12,000 profit, or this one right here that was a long for XRP for nearly $25,000 in profit. Now here's the main question that I have for you. What if you could trade with $100,000 without ever risking any of your own capital? Well, I'm doing it right now, trading a 100K funded account with zero of my own money on the line. I just paid a one-time evaluation fee to take a trading test, and that's it. And we've been getting flooded with messages of people asking us, how do I get crypto loans? How do I leverage trade without risking my own capital? And that's exactly why we partnered with Breakout, the sponsor of today's video, a crypto prop trading firm recently acquired by cryptocurrency exchange Kraken, with over 10 million clients in 190 countries, processing billions of dollars in trading volume, and over 1.5 billion in 2024 and over 15 billion in 2025 in revenue. They'll fund you up to $200,000 for passing one simple trading test. And if you pass the test, you get to keep up to 90% of the profits on your trading account, and you get to withdraw your profits anytime after you pass the test. Now, here's the problem that I see most people face when they get started in crypto. They go to an exchange like Coinbase or Binance.com, and they just start trading with, let's say, $10,000 of their own money. And that's not a small amount of money for most people. That's your mortgage payment, that's food, that's electricity, that's your rent. So one bad trade or one black swan event, like what happened at the beginning of October, where altcoins saw the biggest liquidation event in history, then poof, your account could be completely blown or go to zero. And then your rent's late, your savings is completely wiped out, your family is stressed out. So you're not trading to win. Trading with your own money is survival. Whereas trading $100,000 of risk-free capital is freedom. In fact, if all you have is $10,000, you should never be trading with all of that in the first place. The smartest move that you could possibly do is take just 10% of that, which is $1,000, and start trading with Breakout's capital, which is acquired by Kraken. And all you have to do is pay for a simple trading test for a 100K account or a 200K account. And if you pass the test, then you're able to trade with six figures without depositing or risking any of your own money. And let's say you fail the test, well, you only lose the cost that it took to take the test rather than a full $10,000, because you shouldn't even be trading with $10,000 of your own money in the first place if you can't pass a simple little $1,000 test. And the best part here is there's no limit on retries. So when you click the link in the description below and you want to get funded for a 100K account like what I did, well, it only costs $1,000 here. And the best part is there's no limit on retries. And so that's 10x better risk management here. And that's how you prove you actually know what you're doing. And this is the smartest strategy that the best traders in the world use, and that's OPM, other people's money. So what I'll do for you is I'll leave a link in the description below. It'll take you to this page right here, and all you have to do is click the button that says Start Trading. And what I did was select the classic 100K funded account. Then you simply enter in your details to create your account, select the account balance. I'd recommend going with 100K. The account type is one step, the plan is classic, And if you enter in the affiliate code 777 on your checkout, it'll give you the maximum discount. And then check the box that says 90 to 10% profit split because it's only $100 extra and it pays for itself in your first payout. So if you skip it, you're only getting 80% of the profit split. So that extra 10% on the table is well worth it. Then you simply purchase the test. You'll get $100,000 loaded in your account. And then the profit target to pass the test is $110,000. So you just have to grow the account by 10% with an unlimited time frame. There's no deadline here. And just keep your account within a max daily loss of 4%. That'd be like $4,000 and a max drawdown of $6,000. And then you can withdraw your profits on demand 24/7 in USDC. Now, quick disclaimer, when you go through the link below and you use code 777 to get the maximum discount on your 100K or 200K funded account test, we do earn a small commission, but it helps support value-based videos like this. So click the link below in the description right now, take the test, and let's get you funded.